The question that shook the global stage was simple, almost impossibly bold. What happens when two of Asia's most luminous stars decide to rewrite destiny itself? For years, their names hovered in separate constellations, glimmering brightly yet far apart, each carrying their own legacy, their own gravity, their own universe of admirers. Lee Min-ho, the iconic leading man whose every stride across a scene felt like a declaration. Song Hye-kyo, the timeless heroine whose gaze could disarm an army and soften an era. They were legends sculpted by time, talent, and quiet resilience. Yet never, not once, did the world imagine that these two solitary constellations would collide in the most cinematic twist of all. And then came the revelation. A revelation whispered first as speculation, carried next as rumor, and then, finally, sealed by certainty so stunning it drowned out every other story in the entertainment world. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo are married. Not rumored. Not speculated. Not whispered behind studio doors. Confirmed. The world paused. Cameras froze. Publicists stuttered. Fans everywhere felt the earth shift beneath their feet, as though an entire era had decided to rewrite itself overnight. The union felt impossible and yet inevitable, like two parallel lines bending subtly until they met at the horizon where destiny waited patiently. But the question lingered. How did two of Korea's most private, guarded, and globally watched icons manage to craft a love story hidden from the glare of omnipresent lenses? The answer begins quietly, almost invisibly. They were colleagues in the same industry, both veterans shaped by triumphs and storms. They carried similar burdens the public never saw: the weight of scrutiny, the exhaustion of fame, the ache of expectation. Behind the flawless makeup and impeccable camera angles stood two humans searching for something real in a world defined by illusion. What began as admiration grew slowly, cautiously, into a bond that defied the patterns of their pasts. They communicated through silence, through mutual understanding, through that rare recognition that two people cut from an unusual cloth can sense in each other. Their love did not bloom under bright lights, but rather in the shadows between schedules, in fleeting conversations, in the sincerity that only emerges when no eyes are watching. This was a romance that rejected the spectacle. A romance that refused to be public property. A romance that protected itself by staying invisible. And so, when they exchanged their vows spoken not in a grand cathedral but in a private sanctuary where only trust existed, it marked a chapter written with deliberate secrecy. No press. No announcement. No spectacle. Just two people choosing each other in the quiet, choosing a future shielded from chaos. But secrets, no matter how delicately held, have a way of echoing through the world. And when the news finally surfaced, unexpected, undeniable, the shock was seismic. Today, commentators scramble to piece together the fragments of a story that unfolded beyond their lenses. Analysts speak of a new era in Korean wave history. Fans describe the moment of discovery as surreal, like awakening inside a dream long imagined but never believed possible. In truth, their marriage is not merely a union of two celebrities. It is the merging of legacies. The fusion of two unparalleled narratives into one breathtaking chronicle. Together, they represent the meeting of generations, the blending of artistic powerhouses who shaped global television, global cinema, global culture. Their partnership feels less like a headline and more like the final scene of a masterpiece the universe spent decades crafting. Now, the world waits to see the projects they may choose to pursue together, the causes they may champion, the presence they will command as a married duo. Waits to witness how this union will transform the framework of fame, love, and global fascination. But perhaps the greatest truth is this. Behind every iconic face and meticulously crafted performance lies a heartbeat longing for connection. And sometimes, when fate is patient and timing merciful, even the brightest stars find the rare courage to orbit around each other. This is not just a marriage. It is a revelation, a statement, a moment etched into the tapestry of pop culture history. Because on this day, in this chapter, the world learned that even legends fall in love. And sometimes, when the world least expects it, they marry. The revelation did not settle quietly. It rippled outward like a shockwave, rattling through continents, crossing language barriers, stirring dormant fantasies, and resurrecting every impossible daydream fans had ever dared to imagine. It became the headline that eclipsed politics, overshadowed scandals, and rewrote social media algorithms in a single breath. But beneath the thunder of global reaction lay a quieter truth, one far more compelling than the spectacle itself. Because the real questions soon evolved from how they married to why their story feels so monumentally significant. And the answer requires traveling further back, beyond rumor, beyond stardom, into the hidden corridors of two lives shaped by light, yet often defined by isolation. The unseen parallel lives. Long before this union stunned the world, Lee Min-ho and HYE KYO were already intertwined, not through romance, but through fate. Both were prodigies. Both were placed on pedestals before they had learned to stand on their own. Both were molded into symbols of beauty, elegance, power, and poise. But symbols do not breathe. Icons are not allowed to falter. Legends are rarely permitted to be human. Behind the curtain of staggering success, they faced the same pressure, the inability to live an ordinary life without extraordinary consequence. Their footsteps were tracked, their expressions analyzed. Every friendship was dissected, every silence misinterpreted. And so, both learned early on how to build fortresses around their private worlds. These fortresses, though miles apart, were built from the same stone. When admiration finds its counterpart, those close to them began noticing something subtle, an exchange of respect that flowed quietly between two artists who understood each other without ever sharing a screen. In interviews, Lee Min-ho often referenced unnamed seniors he admired for their grace under pressure. HYE KYO would speak of younger actors whose discipline and evolution reminded her of her early passion for the craft. Their paths bent closer, yet never touched, as though destiny were sketching the outline of something it was not yet ready to unveil. And somewhere along this invisible line, admiration shifted into something deeper, something silent but undeniable. Not infatuation, not impulse, but recognition. The kind that can only occur when two people with shared wounds, shared triumphs, and shared loneliness finally look up and see a familiar soul standing across from them. The secret they guarded with their lives. Their relationship did not bloom in visible seasons. It unfolded slowly, like dawn creeping in before the world is awake. There were no grand declarations. No tabloids catching fleeting glances. No airport sightings. No leaked texts or speculation. Their romance lived in uncharted territory, the spaces where schedules overlapped just enough for brief conversations, the soft hours after long filming days when truth feels easier to speak, the quiet evenings where fame could be left outside the door. They protected their bond with a discipline almost unheard of in the modern age. And when the moment finally came, the moment they decided to bind their futures, the ceremony was not designed for cameras or crowds. It was intimate, almost sacred, reserved only for the people who understood the rarity of what they had found. No spotlight, no choreography, no spectacle, only sincerity. Two hearts choosing each other without needing the world's permission. The world reacts, the universe listens. When confirmation finally escaped the shadows, something profound happened. It was as if the world exhaled a breath it did not know it had been holding. For the first time, fans witnessed a fairy tale unfolding in reverse. No courtship was public. No build-up was hyped. No narrative was spoon-fed to the masses. All they saw was the ending of Act 1 and the beginning of something far greater. Their marriage was not the climax of a scandal. It was the unveiling of a destiny fulfilled. Content creators scrambled. Journalists rewrote scripts. Global media recalibrated their priorities. Because this union transcended the usual parameters of celebrity gossip. It symbolized the merging of two dynasties. The convergence of two pillars of Korean entertainment. The seamless fusion of hearts, histories, and legacies. The new chapter the world awaits. Now, their partnership breathes possibility into the future. Will they collaborate on screen? Will they redefine philanthropy as a united force? Will they become the new face of global cultural diplomacy? No one knows. And perhaps that mystery is part of their power. What is certain is that their marriage marks a turning point, not just in entertainment, but in the public understanding of what it means for stars to be human. It challenges the idea that fame must swallow privacy. It defies the assumption that love cannot survive under relentless scrutiny. It reaffirms that even under immense pressure, authenticity can rise. The final truth. As the cinematic narration nears its close, the camera pulls back from the frenzy of headlines and the roar of global reaction. It rises above the noise, above the speculation, above the endless digital echo chamber, until only two figures remain in the frame, standing together not as icons, not as legends, but as partners who chose a life beyond the reach of public imagination. The question that shook